hypnosis, I say your higher self. Finally, I got it working on YouTube. There we go. When we're talking about higher self, I like to say that higher self is a voice that tells you which a wrong turn, just like you're jumping into your higher self, whether you do it on your own and clearly hear your higher self, or if you do it through like a hypnosis session. How does it benefit you? What's in it for you? Why would you even want to talk to and hear from your higher self? Well, just like a GPS, it can tell you the way to go, the quickest, easiest, most efficient way to go. That's what your higher self will tell you about your life and journey and your purpose. So if you want to try to figure it out on your own, your personality, your avatar here on Earth, if you want to do that, I mean, you're free to do it. Everyone has free will. But if you want to find the most efficient, quickest, easiest way, not to say that life will be easy just because you tap into your higher self, because we all create challenges for ourselves to learn and to grow, but it will give you the most efficient, direct route to get there instead of struggling and floundering. And so it's just amazing to think of all the growth that I've received in my life as a result of learning. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. That's awesome. I think it notifies more people that I'm live if you hit the screen and tap it and have a bunch of hearts flying around. I think it like puts it on more people's screens. So that's appreciated. Because I share this stuff. I give of my time. I'm getting compensated for this, right? Like I give of my time to try to help others with their spiritual journey, because I just learn so much every single day. I do a higher self hypnosis. Listen to wisdom. Yourself, give them direction and guidance for their lives. It's truly humbling and incredible. And I, as a practitioner, get to learn a ton by listening to these people's higher selves. So it's really amazing. And I have a recent session that I did, and I want to share with you all kind of the details about this hypnosis session, where she received some psychic surgery and she was able to get some clarity on why she created different things in her life. Plus, she got to look at a past life. So that's kind of where I want to start. I want to tell you guys about past life. And I printed off her hypnosis session here. I'm not going to say her name. She's given me permission to share her session. I may end up posting this one on my YouTube channel. So I do have on my YouTube channel some actual hypnosis sessions where you can hear the client's voice. Sometimes they give me permission to share their face. Sometimes their face is covered for privacy reasons, but you can actually watch higher self hypnosis sessions that I've done with my clients. Is my feed pausing a lot? Oh gosh, I hope not, guys. If my feed is pausing a lot, you can go to my YouTube channel. I'm sorry. I just have crappy internet here. I don't know what else to do about it. Like, that just sucks. I wonder if I use my data, if it would be better. Hold on TikTok, guys. I'm going to try to use my data, see if I can change it to data. So let me see. Okay, I'm back. And hopefully, let me know, guys. Let me know if that helped. If my TikTok feed doesn't lag as much now that I just changed to data, because I don't know. I lived in Virginia. I just moved to Nashville, Tennessee a year ago, and the internet is as awful here as it was in Virginia. So, and I've gone through 2 internet companies here in Nashville. So, and it's lagging on YouTube also, is what I was just told. So I am so sorry. Let me know if it's better on TikTok, guys. If it's not lagging, that would be amazing to know. I don't want it to lag, because then you obviously can't hear anything and learn anything I'm saying. So, I mean, if it gets too bad, maybe I'll just have to end it. I'm so sorry. It's better? Okay, good. It's better on TikTok. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, download TikTok and get over to TikTok, because it's not lagging over there now. It's my stinking crappy internet. I'm actually going to get up from my desk. Give me 1 second, because my daughter unplugged the, what do you call that thing where it expands it around the house? My expander for my internet. I'm going to plug it in behind me and see if that might help. So hold on a minute. Let me do that quickly. Maybe that will help. Okay. Hopefully it does once it kicks in. My daughter doesn't like all the waves going all over the house, so she unplugs the the extender often. But okay, so I'm hoping that this is better. And if it's really bad on YouTube, again, if it's lagging, jump over to my TikTok, and I am on my data now instead of my Wi-Fi. So apparently everyone on TikTok is saying that the connection is much better. So just putting you over there. I came from TikTok, and there it's way better over here. Okay, got it. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best here. Okay, so I heard it's better on YouTube too. So, okay, good. It's good. Okay, I want to share with you all a recent higher self hypnosis session that I did. And again, I just gave a brief description of what is your higher, kind of the voice of your soul. It's the real you. It's the you without the dramas. It's the you without the traumas. It's the you without the belief systems that you adopted from mom and dad and your teachers and your relatives and society in general. And it's that you that just knows why you're here. It's seen all these past lives. It's with you during all these past lives. It knows why you did all these past lives. And it also can tap into and understand why you create the issues in your life that you do and the challenges, like physical illness and physical challenges. Because if you have physical challenges in your life, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, we create those things in our bodies as a way to slow us down and get us to pay attention to something else that's going on. And so if we can look at every challenge that we have, let's take an example of a broken toe. I mean, you stub your toe and you break it and you're like, oh my gosh, and it's negative and it's awful. And I have a recent thing that happened to me physically, and it just took me for a loop all night long. I was so sad when I found out something to do with my teeth. And I was just like, are you kidding me? That, needing a tooth to get pulled after I take such good care of my teeth. And I've never even had a cavity my entire life. And I am so meticulous with my teeth and so careful. And to find out, dealing with neck pain, right, Megan? Exactly. I find out that I'm going to have a tooth pulled. And it just devastated me, you guys. And then I didn't understand why I was so devastated. I'm like, for crying out loud, Tracy, it's a tooth. I mean, come on, you and your first world problems. I mean, really? That's what I was telling myself. But then at the same time, I was feeling just distraught, just devastated, so sad. And I couldn't believe it. And so it's a way to slow us down and look at things from a different perspective. And if we can automatically, like when something happens, stubbing a toe and breaking a toe, whatever it is, try to bring ourselves as quickly as possible to the point of saying, okay, since everything happens for me and not to me, what am I supposed to gain from this? What is it bringing my attention to? What am I not currently seeing, or what am I going to do differently now as a result of this event happening? So for me, it's like finding out that I have to have this tooth pulled. What am I going to do differently, or what new perspective is it going to give me that I wouldn't have had I not had this happen? So the next day I woke up and I was totally fine. And I was even laughing at myself that I was so devastated the day before about finding out this bad news about my tooth. I mean, I went to the dentist going, oh, I'm having this tooth pain. Didn't expect my dentist to say, oh, you need this. And then there's this implant and we're going to drill a screw up in your bone and all this. When I heard that, being as in touch with psychic surgery and our body and different things our body are okay with and things that traumatize our body, I knew right away that drilling a screw in your bone, in your bone, up in your gum is not, it is a traumatic event for your body. Like, it's very traumatic. And I just felt it instantly when she said it. And so it just really bothered me and upset me when I found out that this is what I was looking at. And so but the next day I woke up and I was fine. I had time to sleep on it. I asked my team to just really help me and work on me while I was sleeping. And then I realized that I was putting way too much stock in the physical appearance, way too much emphasis on things that are unimportant. but that seem important to us when we're on this human journey. And that as we age, things are going to happen, and not everything is going to go perfectly and beautifully and wonderfully, and things are going to age along with us and need to be replaced or removed or modified, and things are going to happen. And that my team was just telling me, this is like a taste, so we can break you in gently for changes that will come, that inevitably come with human bodies getting older and wearing out and all of these things, and to not put so much stock in it, and to not have that be such a big thing in your mind, front and center, that your self-confidence and your sense of worthiness depends on. It shouldn't depend on your looks. It shouldn't depend on whether you have a fake tooth in there instead of a real tooth in there or something like that. Like I said, first world problems, right? So first world problems. Anyway, so I want to share with you guys. So if anytime an accident or any kind of injury or sickness or anything like that, we can always ask ourselves, and I was asking myself amidst the sadness, what am I meant to learn from this? Because since everything happens for me and not to me, what am I meant to learn from this? And what can I do to grow from this situation and look at the glass half full instead of the glass half empty? So that's just a freebie. So now I'm going to talk about this hypnosis session. So again, I printed it out, and this was a really interesting one. She got a lot of psychic surgery, which I'll get into later. Yeah, right, Landa. You lost one tooth, but you still have 31 other good teeth left. Yeah, right? Like I said, first world problems, right? I just felt so ridiculous the next day. I'm like, that was just ridiculous that I was so upset about having to lose a tooth, and get a fake one put in. Like, it's just like, and just so I can be totally a type warrior. Thank you for the rose. Just so I can be totally vulnerable. Here, I'm going to put it out there. It's this one. It's my front top tooth. And I cannot believe, like, again, I don't even have a cavity my whole life. I've just been so good with my teeth. And now to find out I cracked it somehow. I have no idea how. Wasn't an injury or anything like that, but it's cracked. And so it has to be removed next month. And I have to get a fake one put in. So yeah, that's something, and it just has to be the one that's like front and center too, right? To really send a message to myself, like, don't focus on these things. It's not where your value and your worthiness lies, right? Okay. So this client gave me permission to share her session. I'm probably going to eventually end up posting it on my YouTube channel. And again, I have other sessions that I have recorded on my YouTube channel where you can actually watch a full higher self hypnosis session. They're fascinating, you guys. It's just, I am strapped for time and I haven't had a lot of time to edit it and then get it put out on my YouTube channel. So it's whenever I get the time to edit it, because she wants me to cover her face, just have her voice. So I have to do that. And then I get it and I upload it and all that kind of stuff. So with this one, it starts out when I do a higher self hypnosis session with a client, it starts out where we look at a past life. So this is a life that I ask her higher self to show her or him that's relevant to their current life. So something that has like a message or some karma, or maybe a relationship with another soul that's still going on. I ask her higher self to show her something like that. So this was the life that she saw. And I'm just going to look down a little bit at my notes so I can get it. So when I found her, when I brought her to this scene in this past life, she said she's standing on sand. She has sandals on. I do feel the sand getting into my sandals as I walk, she said. They're adult size feet. I have a lot of, not a lot of clothing, and it's really light, almost like a dirty cloth wrapped around me. She said, I feel male. Okay, so yep, you've not always been male and always female. We swap back and forth. Sometimes you're more male, sometimes you have more lives as females, but you do switch because your soul wants balance. And he said, I'm in a desert. I see pyramids with slaves working, and I see camels. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of walking with a camel. It just feels like work. I think I work with the slaves, but I'm a little bit above them, but not much. Okay. So this is her as a he in that other life describing his life. Life is difficult. It seems like I'm annoyed almost every day with my work and with what I have to do, the people I have to deal with, and I hate the heat. That's what he said. I said, does it feel like you have adequate food, shelter, and rest? And he said, I feel very skinny, tired, and fatigued. I think I get enough to survive, enough to feed my family, but not enough to be nutritious, if that makes sense. Just enough to keep me moving. So, wow, we come on the scene in this past life, and he's in, and it turns out it's Egypt, and the pyramids are being built. Okay, so we're going to hear about his role a little bit later in this past life. So I asked him to describe his home. It was really simple, made of stone and sand. The roof is made out of some type of wood. There's 2 windows with little cloths covering them and a wood door. Inside, it's small, and he said he has a wife in there and a baby. It's really small inside. There's a little carpet on the floor, like a running carpet, a table above the carpet, and some pots and pans. There's a metal pot where you can create like a fire. So almost like an indoor fire pit inside this little house that he had in a past life. So I said, how do you feel about your wife, and how do you feel how you are as a husband? And he said, I love my wife. She's my safe place. Isn't that awesome to have a partner who feels like your safe place? Like, that's the best. Don't we all want that, right? And he said, I'm unhappy in life and work. And just the fact that we have to live like this, but at least we have each other. I sometimes question if she loves me back the same way, or if she's disappointed in me. I question if I can provide for our family, provide for our baby. I think the baby is the boy. And I said, do you have feelings of inadequacy maybe? And he said, yes, we love each other, but I sometimes wonder if she regrets marrying me. I think she's in love with me, but I wonder if she regrets marrying me. I understand that love is one thing, but survival is another. And if I can't provide what she needs or what we need, would there be any regret there? So again, this is her as a him in a past life describing his life, working in this place in Egypt when the pyramids were being built. So just not having a lot of food. I mean, just enough to survive, but that's about it. Really, really modest life. And he said, I don't think her family wanted her to marry me. I think her family was a little bit more well off than where I came from. Not a lot, but enough to judge me and judge our union. But she married me anyway. And I said, what does it feel like you do for work? Like, what occupies your time? Hi, Maggie. And he said, it's hard to tell what I do for work. I think it's something with water. I think I supply water to the slave workers, and I have to travel to get the water and bring it over to the area of the pyramids where the slaves are building the pyramids. I said, so do you do a lot of walking with the camel? And he said, yes, it just gets really tiring and tedious and hot. And sometimes I want to rest, but I can't. I said, it must give you lots of time for thinking though, right? And he said, yes, too much time. I think sometimes I don't want to be with my own thoughts. I want distraction, but with all the walking, there is no distraction. I think there's days I go without seeing my wife because of the travel I have to do for my job. And I said, does she work outside the home? And he said, no, I think she stays home and takes care of the baby. So again, this is Egypt at the time of building the pyramids. And he gets to be the one, his job is to bring the water back from wherever they have to truck it in from on a camel. Camel's the truck. And bring it to the slaves. So yeah, if you're a truck driver in this life, you would have been a camel driver probably in that life. So that's what they used. I said, how do you feel about the slaves? And he said, I feel sorry for them. I don't think it's fair. I also feel like I'm not too much above them. I'm very close to them. I could have been them. I just got lucky. I wish I could help, but there's nothing I can do. I don't have any type of power. It's really hard watching them be hurt when they're not doing the job fast enough. People hurt them, and I have to turn my cheek and walk away. Yikes, right? So as he's watching these slaves get beaten for not building the pyramids fast enough, and he's hauling water, there's nothing he can do. He just has to turn away. I said, what would happen if you tried to intervene? He said, I would be placed in jail or killed. So then what I do after they describe their life and kind of tell me what they do in this past life, I ask them to take me to a few different events, like take me to an important event or something that happened in the future. So actually, this gentleman went back in time instead of forward in time. And he just described to me the time that he married his wife because that was a happy memory for him. And he said, she looks beautiful. We both look really good. But he said, I don't see her family there. I think a couple of her cousins showed up, but her parents are not there. The wedding's outdoors. It's kind of small. I'm really happy. I think I'm in my 20s. She's in her 20s. It's a happy day. I'm a little sad that her parents didn't show up. I feel responsible, like it's my fault. So again, just a little bit ago, he had said that her family was not okay with their union. They were just a little bit better off than him, and they judged him and judged their union, but she married him anyway. So the next event that he went to actually was in the future. And he said, I'm sick in bed at home. I got hurt and I developed a bad infection. So you're going to see this is actually where he died. So let me tell you this. He said, I think I'm 50 or 60. My wife is trying to take care of me and my kid is there. I feel like it's in my chest over my right breast area. I think someone hurt me. I do not know if I did something, but it feels like someone whipped me with a whip as if I did something wrong and they hit me and it got infected. Maybe someone who was watching over the slaves hit me. I did something wrong or ticked someone off. Maybe I said something out of anger or I erupted or something. It feels like I got a warning. In the moment, it feels like it's going to kill me. We don't have many healers in the area. I think I see a couple of friends in the neighborhood coming over and trying to heal me, but I don't feel like it's working and I'm really scared. And she, my client, who was a he in this lifetime, got really emotional. And I'll tell you that when we're looking at past lives, you actually go there. And I learned this a long time ago when I was doing these sessions, that we actually go and visit these other lives when we look at a past life. And today I had a session I finished shortly before I came on live. And she did a lot of crying when she was looking at her past lives. And she got little tiny glimpses of like 5 different past lives when I was doing her session. Her higher self just kept bouncing her around in all these different past lives, just giving her a little tiny bit of each life. And in about 4 of them, there were some pretty sad things that happened in them. And she was all emotional, lots and lots and lots of crying. Especially the one where she was a little boy. This is a different client, but she was a little boy and he was terrified of his mother. And this was in France, long time ago, and terrified of his mother because she was so rigid and so strict and he never did anything right. And she was constantly screaming at him and yelling at him and telling him everything that he did wrong. And so she got very emotional. And she told me after the session was over that she's like, I was literally there and I was that little boy. Thank you, Jules, for the roses. You're so awesome. Thank you. And she said, I felt like I was literally there and I could feel the terror that little boy had for his mother. And he just constantly lived in fear. And so, yeah, when we go visit these past lives, it can be really emotional. I have yet to have a session where a client doesn't cry at some point in their session. So just FYI, if you ever do a higher self hypnosis session or a past life session with me, just be prepared that you're probably going to get emotional at some point. You're going to cry a little bit. But okay, so back to this story. So he said, I'm scared I'm dying. I'm not scared of death. I'm scared that I won't see my son or my wife again. And then my client started crying in the session. He said, I'm scared of leaving them on their own because I'm the one who brings in the money. I think my son works a little, but he doesn't make as much as I make. And after he took his last breath, he said, it took a couple of months for that infection to take my life, but my soul did finally leave my body. And now I'm free of the pain, but I feel sad that I'm gone. I see my wife and my kid crying, and I'm sorry I had to leave them. I feel like I disappointed them. And then I asked him, I said, what lessons do you feel like you learned in that lifetime? Because, guys, it's all about what lessons we learn. We go to these different lives to learn lessons, to have experiences. Thank you, Jules. You said you love my work. Thank you so much. I hope you guys know, I hope you know, Jules, I have some sessions on my YouTube channel and on my Patreon channel. There's a link in my TikTok bio. It's patreon.com/lightworker, where you can see even more. I think I have about 25-ish higher self hypnosis sessions on my Patreon channel. And I have some really, really good ones out there. But anyway, so I asked, what lessons did you learn from that lifetime? And he said, I wish I had spent more time with my family instead of working. That's a common thing people say. But at the same time, I feel like I didn't have a choice. I wish I was a little bit more positive on a daily basis. Maybe see my blessings more than complaining internally. Because again, as he was hauling water back and forth, bringing water to give for the slaves and probably the workers when they were building the pyramids in Egypt, he had a lot of alone time and really had a pretty negative, pessimistic outlook. And so anyway, so that's why he wishes he would have been more positive. So then after we look at the past life, then I asked the higher self, why did you show her or him that particular past life? Because I asked you to show my client a relevant past life. Why did you show them this one? And so the higher self said she needed to see a few things. She needed to see, number one, that love is real, that real love is out there. And she needed to see the negativity that the mental mind can take on you on a daily basis and how it can affect your body and your spirit, right? So that was a big theme from that lifetime. And I said, he died feeling sad and scared, leaving his family. And I wanted to know if there's any trauma left in her on a soul level for feeling sad and scared, dying in that lifetime. And her higher self said, well, there is a feeling of unworthiness that's left over from that lifetime. And that unworthiness started with the fact that his wife's family did not attend the meeting and did not approve of their marriage. And he let the fact that other people didn't approve of him make him believe that he wasn't worthy. And so that has been sticking with her, her higher self said, even up until this life, that it started in that life, that feeling, that sense of unworthiness, and that it's still with her today. In this lifetime, it's carried with her on a soul level. So isn't that interesting? Unworthiness is something that we often deal with from life to life to life to life, or a lack of self-love, by letting other people's opinions and beliefs about us determine our worth, instead of having that inner knowing, that inner fortitude, that inner strength of knowing that you are worthy. And it doesn't matter what anyone else says or what anyone else does. And we all struggle with that. I struggle with that. Everyone struggles with that. It's a major theme when I do my sessions. I have yet to have more than maybe out of over 1,000 sessions that I have done to see maybe more than 10 people's higher selves say that they've mastered worthiness and self-love. But other than that, like every single person's higher self tells them they need to, at least to a small extent, if not a large extent, work on self-love and worthiness. And hi, Katrina. Yes, it's QHHT. And I just kind of took it on a little side path, and I added something called theta healing to it, which a lot of people here probably know what theta healing is. If you don't, I have information about that on my website, wokelightworker.com. I have theta healing classes to teach everybody what it is coming up in September. This is July 2024, coming up in September 2024. And I kind of took theta healing and QHHT, which is Dolores Cannon's hypnosis method, and I kind of mushed them together, added a little bit of psychic surgery in there that my higher self taught me, and some emotional alchemy that my higher self kind of led me through, and kind of mushed it all together and made my own thing. So whereas Dolores Cannon, in her sessions, she did talk about, healing yourself. And if you're powerful enough to make yourself sick, you are powerful enough to heal yourself. But she liked to focus on fun things like alien lives and having visits with our alien relatives and friends. And I don't really do as much of that. It just doesn't come up as much in my sessions. Of course, it does sometimes, but mine is more of like a trauma healing and deep emotional traumas and getting you healing and help for this lifetime to help you right here, right now. And how do you connect with your higher self? How do you connect with your spirit team so that you can live your best life possible? How do you change your belief systems? Because again, we have all these beliefs that are put on us by our parents, by other people saying, oh, you can do better than him, or you can do better than her. And then you hear that, right? You hear that and it affects your self-esteem. It affects your confidence. And you take on those beliefs like, wow, I must not be worthy, right? And so how do you get rid of those beliefs that other people put on you and know your value and know your worthiness? You yourself, right? Sometimes God, Creator, brings other people into our lives who do see our value, who do see our light, who do see how amazing we are. But we can't always depend on people outside of us. The real lesson in all of this is finding that value from that wellspring of our divinity inside of us. That's really what it is. Hi, Tara. How are you? Thanks for joining. Okay, so I want to move on a little bit, again, reading from this higher self hypnosis session. So I asked if it would help to download Creator's definition and perspective of worthiness into both that man, right? Because we're doing healing for that past version of her, and into her now. And her higher self said, yeah, that would be great. That would be great if we downloaded that. So I did that. And to describe it, she said what it looked like to have Creator's definition of worthiness being downloaded into her. She said this. She said, I'm seeing a bright gold light and filling it into their solar plexus chakra regions, meaning her and her past version male self, which has a lot of black gunk around it, around the solar plexus chakra. And her higher self said, I'm putting acid to have it dissolve, and I'm replacing it with light. How cool is that, right? There's a little bit of psychic surgery right there. The higher self dissolving some black gunk around the solar plexus chakra, which is your power center, putting acid on it to dissolve that black gunk and replacing it with light. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I said, can you teach both of them? Teach their hearts, teach their minds, teach their bodies and their emotions what it feels like to be worthy, right? So you can download Creator's definition, but then you want to download the feeling. Like, I know what it feels like to be worthy. And her higher self said, yeah, it feels like complete peace. It feels like a breath of fresh air and very little thoughts in the mind. It feels like understanding that anything that doesn't work out for them, it was never meant for them in the first place. And they're okay with that. So, wow, I thought that was great, right? Knowing that anything that doesn't work out for you was never meant for you, right? That involves something called surrender and being okay with whatever happens in your journey, right? Which is a huge lesson for almost all of us. So surrender is a big thing, and it comes up a lot in my sessions. It even came up in a session that I had today, that she doesn't know how to surrender to what is, to accept what is going on in her life instead of resisting it constantly. So I'm actually going to be talking about her session on my next live, because the woman I did a session with today, it was incredible, full of tons of lessons. So I'll do that one on my next live, probably about this time next week, maybe. Okay. So let me see. Her higher self told her to start journaling. That was one thing. Let me see what else. Let me go to here. She needs to start journaling. Journaling is extremely important, her higher self said. Some work that can help her in her journey and with her feelings of worthiness. She needs to do more affirmation work as well. And she absorbs too much energy from those around her. She's not protecting herself and grounding every day. So if you guys are not, I hear this all the time in my higher self hypnosis sessions, if you're not shielding yourself, if you're not clearing your energy, and if you're not grounding every day, those are like, just like you want to shower, clean yourself every day. That's like your spiritual routine to do every day. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel, and it's a link in my TikTok bio also, called the 4 must do's every day. And it's under my live tab under my YouTube channel. I have to click on the live, but it's called the 4 must do's every day. And I just did a quick video. I think it was like 11 minutes telling you how to shield yourself, how to ground yourself, how to protect yourself energetically. So this is just like spiritual hygiene, spiritual cleanliness. And so these are critically important. And her higher self actually brought this up numerous times in her session. So about the grounding and the shielding. So if you guys want to check out that video, it's on my YouTube channel, or there's a link in my TikTok bio. You can find it, the 4 must do's every day. And then I said, let me see. Her higher self also told her not to dwell on self-pity. We understand that on a human level, things can be difficult, but with meditation and journaling, she will come to see that things will get better, and she needs to count her blessings every morning and every night. So great advice for all of us, right? Journaling, meditating, counting your blessings, and getting out of that energy when we start to feel sorry for ourselves. It's easier said than done, right? It can be really a lot easier said than done, especially when it feels like life is crashing down around you all the time, which happens to all of us, right? All of us, we all get there. And then I said, I talked about mental clarity, and she experiences a lot of anxiety and OCD. So I want to talk about that because I know a lot of people have anxiety, which is fear, and she has OCD. Now, she told me, let me tell you about her OCD. Her OCD, she will make things up in her mind, like little rituals to try and control her situation. So this is just a silly example, and an example her and I used. Like, she'll have a bad thought, like a negative thought, and she'll say to herself with her OCD, she'll say to herself something like, oh, I'll erase that negative thought if I walk through the doorway backwards singing happy birthday or something like that. Like, she just makes these things up as a way to try to say, okay, it's going to be better once I do this. I'm going to undo it. Like, she's constantly trying to find solutions for all these little problems that she created in the first place. So that's what she said with her OCD. She just constantly makes these things up. And she's like, this is crazy. It's craziness. Like, how do I get out of this? So she wanted to ask her higher self about her anxiety and her OCD. So here's what I said. She said she has a lot of anxiety and really intense OCD where her mind gives her all sorts of made up solutions for what's causing her stress in her life. What are some things she can do, or what needs to be healed in order for her to overcome this? Okay. And I did make a TikTok about this, but I'm going to go on from here. So let me just read this. Her higher self said she has an incredibly fast moving mind. She moves from one topic to the next. She was born with an amazing talent to hold a lot of information. But here's the key, guys, and we all have this. Due to entanglements with her family members and traumas that she's been through, her mind has been completely rewired. She's now under the impression that because all these bad things happened to her when she used to be carefree and anxiety-free, she's now fearful that if she once again becomes carefree and anxiety-free, that bad things are going to happen to her again. So her soul stays in a state of fear because she believes that this keeps her safe. So she believes that doing these things and having this OCD and this anxiety is actually keeping her safe. Her higher self said, this is a false belief. What is meant to be is already written. What her higher self said a little bit earlier. What is meant to be is already written. It doesn't matter what rituals she does or what preventions she takes. It's all in her head. Creator has already decided her fate, and she has agreed to this life before she incarnated here. She needs to understand that she can let go because, good or bad, her life is already written. Now, of course, we know we have free will and we can make little choices and things like that. The major things in our life are already written. Okay? We decide those before we come here. We, us, our divinity, us as creator, a fractal of creator, decided these things before we came here. So then I said to her higher self, I said, you said her mind has been rewired due to the trauma and entanglements from her family members. Then here's the psychic surgery I'm going to share with you guys. Are you able to go in and remove all of the energetic cords that are causing the confusion in her on any level? Remove those energetic entanglements and clear and clean all of the wires, and then send in a crew of angels to rewire everything back to where it was when she was 1 year old. Nice and clear and clean with no disruptions. And tell us what that looks like as you do it. Her higher self said, yes. I will need to ask for some help though, so give me a moment. And after a pause, her higher self said, we're working on it now. There's a thick cord connected from her heart and brain to her mom. Guys, I'm going to pause right there and just tell you, there is not a session that goes by that, even my session today, there's not a session that goes by that there are not entanglements and energetic cords connecting us to mom and dad, or mom or dad. And some are thicker, some are black cords. Some are not black, but they're thick. And we just, other than, and I've done, like I said earlier, I've done over 1,000 of these sessions. And there has been one time in all of my sessions where I asked if we could remove the energetic cord connecting that client to their mom or connecting them to their dad. Only one time has the higher self ever said no. Otherwise, it's like, yes, let's cut these. Let's remove these energetic cords, because we're adults. We don't need energetic cords connecting us to our parents anymore. Because a cord, imagine it, think of it almost like an umbilical cord. But it's an energy. There's energy going back and forth both ways. Mom is sad or mom's upset. That energy is seeping through that cord and coming to you. You might even live on the other side of the country or in a different country. But with that energetic cord there, you're still being subjected to mom's traumas, emotions, difficulties, good or bad. Same thing from you to mom, right? So, you might have a relationship with a parent, or it could be a spouse or an ex-spouse or a child, and an adult child, right? And we just have these cords and we just don't need them. It's just all these entanglements that we just don't need. So it's like, it's cutting cords is one of those 4 must-dos that I talked about doing every single day, is imagining that you're cutting those energetic cords with others because we just don't need them. They're not for our best and highest good. Again, other than one time when someone's higher self said, and yeah, you can still have, to answer your question, you can still have cords with the deceased parent. 100% happens all the time. Cut those cords, right? Especially if it's a deceased family member, you absolutely don't want those cords there, right? So, and the only reason that one client's higher self said we should not ask for that cord to be cut is because her mother is a narcissist and has a lot of health issues and lives with her daughter, my client. And that was literally the only thing keeping her mom alive, was the mother being able to siphon the daughter's energy. And that was the thing that was keeping the mother alive energetically. She literally had nothing else to live for. She had burned all of her bridges. She had no one else in her life. No one wanted to be with her, doing anything for her or even around her. And the daughter was all she had. And it was a completely toxic relationship. And my client was at her wit's end both times she came for a session. But yet my client on a soul level did not want to be the cause of her mom dying in this life. Like, oh, I'm going to cut that cord. And she's gone, right? So her higher self was like, she doesn't want that responsibility or that guilt or whatever it might be that, oh, I cut this cord, now my mom's dead type of thing. So no, Jordan, I'm not a psychic. I'm talking about higher self hypnosis, where I help my clients talk to their higher self, which is your true self, your soul self, to get answers to every question you have about your life. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a recent higher self hypnosis session I did. Okay, we were talking about cutting cords, guys. So let me go back to this. So her higher self said, right, that there's a thick cord connected from her heart and brain to her mom. The cord is not black, but it's nearing the color black. What we can do is infuse the cord with Creator's white light, dispel it from all the bad energy that has gathered through the years between these two souls. And then her higher self said, Archangel Michael is here with me. I'm taking the cord from her brain and her mom's brain, and I'm clearing it with Creator's white light. Archangel Michael is taking the cords between her heart and her mom's heart and clearing it with Creator's white light. We are also going in her mind and pulling sharp-looking black wires out of her brain. We have to do it slowly. Please give us some time. And then there was a long pause, and then she said, there is a lot here. I have to ask for more help. Give me a moment, please. Another pause. And then her higher self said, it is done. We were able to get most of the wires out of her brain. She has one or two left that are in spots that are not safe to pull from, and it's not in Creator's will that we do so. Isn't that interesting? She needs to work on this issue with daily practices, as we mentioned before. She needs to journal, do affirmations, grounding, and protection, self-protection work. So then her higher self said, eventually her brain will become a safe space. She should feel a lot lighter in her mind after today. Isn't that interesting, right? Wow, didn't expect all that going on. So then I said, would it benefit her to have you download Creator's definition and perspective of self-love into her? And her higher self said it would help a lot. We can do that. This was beautiful, guys. Listen to this, how her higher self does this. It's beautiful. When I asked to teach her, give her Creator's definition of self-love, her higher self said, I'm taking a fragment of Creator God's heart. It's green and it's pink, and it looks like a shining open watermelon. I don't know who is calling me. I'm sorry. Wow, that was weird, guys. I'm sorry. I just disappeared on TikTok for a moment. I forgot to set my do not disturb, and some random person was calling me. Okay, so downloading Creator's definition of self-love. I'm taking a fragment of Creator God's heart. It's green and it's pink, and it looks like a shining open watermelon. And I'm placing that, and I'm splitting it into two pieces, and I'm placing it in both her heart and her solar plexus. She should feel a lot less judgmental of herself after this. Creator's definition of self-love is unconditional. She needs to love herself unconditionally, and she has not been doing that. Welcome to the club, right? She has only been loving herself when she is at her very best. She needs to love herself even at her worst. Okay, if you guys are ever going to write down anything to focus on in your life, in your spiritual journey, in your life journey ever, that should be it right there, right? Self-love really is a key to virtually everything else going on in our lives. And if we can master self-love, higher selves have told me that we can literally cure every single thing that's going on in our bodies, like ever. If we truly learned how to totally and completely love ourselves. And so this is what her higher self said. She needs to love herself even at her worst. So I started to do this the other day, guys, because after I had this session, I learned a lot in these. I actually sat down and I made a mental kind of image or list of all these times in my life when I felt my worst. I felt my absolute worst, like ashamed or guilty. It's almost going to bring me to tears now that I'm talking about it, guys. But you know, when you feel just terrible about yourself, like, how could I have done that? How did I hurt that person? Or how did I do this? Or why did I do that? And I started thinking about all these things. And it's like I was a third person looking at that former version of me in all those instances and looking at her like she was an outside person in a way. Hey, Chantal, right? You've been there too, right? And I looked at her almost like like I was a third person observing her. And I decided that I was going to go over to each version of her and I was just going to hold her and I was just going to love her and tell her that it's okay and that she's amazing and she's awesome and that it's okay. And that's where she was at the time. It's not where she is now, because obviously I'm not that person now, because I'm the one observing all these past versions of myself, feeling awful about how I was back then. Because I wasn't perfect, right? I wasn't perfect. Judging myself, ooh, right? And I just imagined holding her and telling her that it's okay. That's where she was at. And there's nothing wrong with it. And that it was just part of the journey, part of the learning, and that she's loved. And there's nothing about anything she did that makes her unlovable. That love that I have for her, that all those versions of me, those past versions of me, of her, are still just as worthy of love as every other past version of me, even the past version of me yesterday. Nothing I could have done or did do made her not worth loving. And so that was pretty powerful and pretty profound, right? That's healing work, right? When we do that kind of stuff, that's where the rubber meets the road. And we do that deep healing work, right? Carly said, I'm in it now, right? That's a good one. So I took that from this session and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. She needs to love herself even at her worst, right? Then this was interesting. So some people ask me, they're like, so when you ask a higher self to do something, does the higher self always say yes? And the answer is no. The higher self does not always say yes. The higher self won't do every single thing for you, because if it's something that you were meant to accomplish yourself, your higher self is not going to do it for you. It'll give you a boost. It'll help you. It'll give you direction and clarity on how you do it. It'll tell you how to do it, but it's not going to do all the work for you, because if your higher self did all the work for you, why are you here? You might as well not even be here if your higher self's just going to swoop in and just make your life great and problem-free. And why would you even be here? You come here to the Earth School to learn. It's a journey to learn and to gather lessons, right? Yeah, Chantal, she said on TikTok, she said, we've come a long way on our journey. So much healing for sure. Chantal, I see you all the time on TikTok with all your amazing videos and the healing that you're doing for yourself. And there's just a big difference between when I met you, when you did a session with me, and where you are now. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. Hi, Pyra. I'm sorry. I just saw you on YouTube. Hey, girl. Binge watching my videos all week, Maddie said. Oh, that's awesome. I share all this stuff trying to help you guys. Like, if I had known a lot of this stuff when I started my journey, I just share the stuff that I wish I would have known, right? Okay. When I asked her higher self next, the next question after her higher self talked about downloading Creator's definition and perspective of self-love into her, and took a fragment of Creator's heart and put one little piece of it in her heart and one little piece in her solar plexus. Then I said, well, how about if you teach her heart, her mind, her body, and her emotions what it feels like to love herself? Don't just give her the definition, but teach her what it feels like to love herself. And her higher self said, nope, she needs to learn this on her own. It's something she agreed to before she came here. We cannot teach her this. She has to learn, but it should come easier for her after today. So there's an example where the higher self was like, nope, she needs to learn what self-love feels like. She needs to go feel it. So then I said, what are some things she can do to increase her self-love? Let's give her an action plan. Let's give her some homework, right? So her higher self said she can think she looks beautiful even on her worst days. Ooh, there's another one, right? For self-love. Tell yourself how beautiful you look even when you don't feel beautiful. Right? Fake it till you make it. I know I've said this before, guys, but I'm going to say it again in case there's anyone new here. My daughter is 17. She started on her spiritual journey when she was probably around 10. So she's been on a spiritual journey for at least 7 years. And she's on some of my lives. So if you guys go look on my past lives on my YouTube channel, you can actually hear her talking. She hasn't been on a live with me for a while. She's got her own life now. She's 17. She works. But she talks to her spirit team all the time, every minute of every day. It's amazing. Yeah, she's so insightful, right, Chantel? So she said that one of the biggest breakthroughs that ever happened to her, because the foundation for a lot of our spiritual journey truly is learning how to love yourself and feel worthy. And she said, and you guys can take this and feel free to use it because it really works. And she said the biggest thing she did, and her spirit team told her to do this, was stand in front of the mirror with no clothes on and don't move and just look at yourself and tell yourself how much you love yourself. It's a fake it till you make it thing. And look at every single crevice of your body, like all the rolls, all the, the pudginess, whatever it might be. If you're too skinny, if you feel like you're too large, whatever it might be. Your eyes, your eyebrows, your hair, every follicle, like every bump, every blemish, every single part of your body, and tell it how beautiful it is and how much it's loved. And she did that. I don't even know, guys, how many months and months and months and months. And being that she was a teenager and didn't have a job at the time, she had all kinds of time to do that. And she'd literally be in the bathroom in front of the mirror without clothes on for hours doing this at a time. And she's like, I have to do it. My spirit team told me to do it. And it was the biggest breakthrough she ever had in her life because, boy, does that girl love herself. And I mean love herself. Because she learned from ground level zero, right? How to start with the obvious, with the physical, the part that we so often criticize all the time. Oh, wow. User with a long number said, you're the second person that's recommended that exact process today. Well, hey, there you go. It's obviously something you needed to hear, right? No such thing as a coincidence, my dear. So, it was the base level for her to truly grasp self-love. And again, like higher selves have told me more than a few times, if you can learn how to truly, truly love yourself completely, totally, completely, you can cure every single thing that's going on with you. Like your life will be oh, hold on. Wow, that was weird. Hold on, guys. Wow, TikTok made me verify that I was still here. So sorry, guys. That was key to her self-love. And so I just share it with you guys to say, because that's the most obvious thing. That seems like a pretty obvious place to start. And then, like I said, that example earlier of looking at all these past versions of you and just all the parts of you that you regret, that you didn't love, that you wish you'd never did, or that you wish you had been different, to just surround that past version of you with unconditional love and tell her how much she's loved and almost like welcome her back into the fold of you. Because when we put someone or something, even if it's a past version of us, if we put it outside of love, that's where it stays, right? We're fragmenting a part of us off and separating it from us. And we're telling it that it's not lovable. And if there are little pieces of you scattered out there energetically that you have put outside of love that you say are not lovable, they're out there as fragments of your soul that are not in the fold. And so it's going out there. The part of the self-healing journey is going out there and welcoming them back in and embracing them with love, that unconditional love, so that you can be more whole, so that you can be more complete, so that you can truly feel what it feels like to love yourself. Sunday Rosberg said, this is my story with my mom. I needed this. I lost both dogs July 5th. Tragedy. So glad I'm here. Oh, me too. I'm sorry about your both dogs. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm so sorry. That's so sad. I'm sorry. Tori, I love your soothing voice. Okay. Just put my live on whenever you need to go to sleep. That'll help. Guys, I do actually have some meditations. I have a free one on my website called Meeting Your Higher Self. If you haven't gotten it, you can go to my website, wokelightworker.com. And the very first screen that pops up says, hey, if you want my free meditation, Meeting Your Higher Self, just give me your contact information. And with your contact information, guys, FYI, I only do things like send you an email if I'm going to go live or something like that. Like I don't just email people every day, and I'm not into sending all that stuff out and spamming. But to let you guys know, whenever my books come out, I have some really great books I'm writing. And when I'm going to go live or something like that, I will email you guys. Or if I have a new class or a new meditation or something like that, I'll send you an email. But it's very rare that I actually even email you guys. But you can go to my website, wokelightworker.com. And then I also have one. There's a couple free classes on my website that I wrote and I recorded. I taught live, and then I have the recording on my website, wokelightworker.com. And one of them is called Overcoming Fear. And I'm really proud of that one. I love that one. And then I have another one called Create a Life You Want to Live. That's another good one. And then I have a couple of other really low-cost classes, a 2-hour class called Gaslighting, Narcissism, and Manipulation. You're going to hear it from a perspective you haven't heard from anyone else, guys. It's from my higher self hypnosis sessions. Very fascinating where narcissists come from and what's really going on, for sure. And I have a 4-week spiritual awakening boot camp on my website. If you guys are new-ish to spirituality and want to learn everything I wish I had learned right away, absolutely. Like, I put my heart and soul into that class. There's a lot of information in there. And then I have a 4-week class that I recorded called Connecting to Your Higher Self that teaches you how do you live as your higher self. I put a ton of time into that class, a ton of energy. Chantel said, I took that class. It was fantastic. This is self-care taken to 100. Yeah, for sure. And then, someone else just said, I saw your recommended books on Amazon. It's nice to see things like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, reading it right now. Yeah. So if you go to my website, wokelightworker.com, and you click on shop, okay, there's a shop tab. And there's a list of recommended books. And guys, I put them in the order that I actually recommend them. It's up to you. Read them in any order or listen to them on audio. But I put them in the order that if I were to do it all over again and knowing, because I've read all these books, what order would I want to read them in? That's the order that I put them in. So I recommend going out there, and I do get almost non-existent, but tiny, tiny little commission if you guys order directly from my page when you look at my recommendations. So that's appreciated. But my list of recommended books, spiritual books, that's on my website, wokelightworker.com. Click on the shop tab. And again, to get my free meditation called Meeting Your Higher Self, where you can listen to how do you meet your higher self, just go to my website, wokelightworker.com, and then all kinds of class information and all that. Like, I have a lot of stuff out there. Okay, let me get back to the story from her higher self hypnosis session. So, let me see. Appreciate how far she has come. That's another thing her higher self said about what can she do to show herself love. Really seriously think about it. If you work on yourself at all, think about how far you have come. I mean, it's not the average person that's going to sit here and listen to me on a YouTube or a TikTok live. I mean, you can see there's not that many people on TikTok, and there are even fewer on my YouTube channel, because not everyone is into working on themselves and doing this kind of work. And the fact that you guys are here and listening to this and learning from it and doing all the work that you are doing, thank you for the Linny Lou. I don't know what kind of badge that is or what kind of gift that is, but thank you. I couldn't see it, some kind of heart looking thing. Thank you. But appreciating how far you've come. Again, that's another way to show yourself love. Just patting yourself on the back when you do something good. I mean, I do. When I do something really amazing for my kids or someone else, I'm like, yeah, way to go, Tracy. I started telling myself these things. Just give yourself the encouragement that you maybe don't get from other people, right? So then let me share this. Hold on. This is going to be a question a lot of you are going to relate to. Okay, you ready for this? My client wanted to know in her recent higher self hypnosis session, why did I choose such challenging parents? Like, why? I mean, she had some really tough parents. Why did she choose such challenging parents? Is there karma involved with it? Is there some sort of balancing her soul wants her to do? Or what was the reason she chose such challenging parents? Her higher self responded after we asked, why did she choose such challenging parents? Her higher self responded and said, there is a bit of it that is karma. She was herself a challenging person in a past life or two. And she needs to learn what it's like to be on the other end of that. Ooh, right? So we can easily fall into self-pity and why me? And why does this happen? And why do I have these awful parents and other people have these great parents? But we don't stop to think because our ego, our personality doesn't know about our other past lives that we've had. It has no idea because it didn't exist then, but our higher self knows, our soul knows. Oh, by the way, honey, you were awful in a couple of your past lives. Terrible. You were a terrible person. And because our souls want balance, our souls will lead us to have lives where we get to be on the other side, where the shoe is on the other foot. So we can understand from that other person's perspective what it feels like to be the recipient of that kind of abuse and that kind of awfulness. So, yeah, I hear that more often than you guys would think. So I teach my daughter, and I've told my daughter many times, she got swindled one time on the sale of a cell phone. She went and bought a used cell phone, and it looked like it was working fine, and everything was fine, and everything was great, and the guy just seemed really nice and really honest and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't. Like, there was something wrong with it. I can't remember what it was. And I said, sweetie, let it go. You're either repaying karma to him or he's going to have karma to repay to you. Either way, it's all good. Just let it go. So we did. So anyway, let me finish this story. So she herself was a challenging person in a past life or two, and she needs to learn what it's like to be on the other end. She also needs to learn how to overcome challenges. In a few of the past lives, she had it very, very easy. We all go through easy lifetimes, but it needs to be balanced out with challenges. Otherwise, your soul doesn't learn anything and it's not balanced. She is meant to learn patience and tolerance. She has had to be very patient her whole life through many things. She's had to learn tolerance through her dad. She's had to learn how to not overreact She's had to learn how to pick and choose her battles. She has had to learn how to turn the other cheek. Something she has still not learned is acceptance. She has not accepted either one of her parents, especially her father. She doesn't know how to accept him for who he is. She has so much resentment and anger towards him and just who he is and what he stands for and the way he conducts himself. She cringes every time at him, and there is judgment there. She needs to accept him for who he is. He won't change, and he's not going anywhere. Woo, that was a big one. There's probably a bunch of people saying amen to that one, right? And you know what's wild is I see this all the time in these sessions that I do with people's higher selves, where we just are not accepting parents, spouses, ex-spouses, whoever, for who they are. It's like that saying, if someone shows you who they are, just believe them and be okay. But then it goes on, and just let it go. That's just who they are. That's who they're choosing to be as a personality in this lifetime. It doesn't mean that that's who they are on a soul level. That's just a role that they're playing in this lifetime. We've got to have villains in every story. I mean, look at every book. It'd be so boring if life was beautiful and perfect in every single book you ever read and there were never any challenges. It'd be the most boring book in the whole world and no one would want to read it. You've got to have an antagonist and a protagonist. And so just understanding that no one's perfect. We're all here to learn lessons. We're all here to have experiences. And just because it's mom or dad doesn't mean that they're perfect. And realizing that mom is not perfect, that dad is not perfect, that can be a huge thing for many people, to realize that they're not perfect, that they didn't do things perfectly. And just accepting them for a soul who's here to learn. And a lot of times when you are a light worker or a soul who's on a really pretty intense spiritual journey, we a lot of times are paired with parents who are younger souls than us. And that can be really challenging. And get us, yeah, mom is just a girl, right? Holistic, yeah, for sure. And that can be really challenging for us to realize that our parents are just people like everyone else and they're not perfect and they're just here to learn like everyone else. It's tough, right? It's tough. But grieve that. If you need to grieve it, that mom's not perfect, the dad's not perfect, grieve it, get over it, and move on and just accept people for who they are. You're not going to change anyone by wishing they were different or trying to put your expectations on them of who they should be. They're not going to change to please you and to suit you. They are who they are. And the sooner we can learn to accept that, the more peace we're going to have. Because it's our non-acceptance of other people that causes us pain. It's not the fact that mom's doing this or dad's doing that, or it's not that. It's not them. It's us. It's us not accepting them for who they are. That's what's causing us the pain. So anyway, that was a big lesson in this higher self hypnosis story, right? And then I said, this is what I did. This is a little bit more of psychic surgery, right? Downloading things into my clients. So in this instance, I said, would it benefit my client to have you download in her creator's definition of acceptance and teaching her how to accept others? So her higher self said, yes, it will take a little bit of time because with her lack of acceptance has taken over her entire body. They run like wires down her entire meridian points. You guys are going to want to listen to this. This is crazy. Okay, this gets wild. First of all, user said, my mom had an emotional immaturity that I did not see until I was about 45 years old. Right, and that's fine. She may be very much maybe a younger soul than you, right? Okay, so listen to this. When I asked to have creator's definition of acceptance downloaded into my client, her higher self said her lack of acceptance has taken over her entire body. They run like wires down her entire meridian points. So I will need some help from the creator and a couple of her spirit guides. Give me a moment to ask them. After a pause, her higher self said, she's standing in front of the creator and a couple of her spirit guides. And there's angel guides on both sides of her. Her angels are pulling out the wires. They're long wires from the meridian points of her body from her feet. They're pulling it out from the soles of her feet. Creator is waiting for this to be completed. Once it's done, Creator will infuse her with his bright white and green light of love and unconditional acceptance. And then there was a long pause, and her higher self said, it has been completed. Then I said, would it benefit her to have you teach her heart, her mind, her body, her emotions, what it feels like to have unconditional love and acceptance for others? And her higher self said once again, nope, not going to do it. It's something she's going to have to learn. This will help with what she accumulated in her body. But from today, she's going to have to practice acceptance and unconditional love towards others. Okay? It won't be easy. It's a new concept for her, but with practice, she will get a lot better. She has been given tools today that will allow her to have a reset. If she ever feels like the lack of acceptance is building up in her system again, she will be able to clear these out through meditation and then be able to continue to practice that acceptance. And I said, you mean so they don't get entwined in her body like they just were? And her higher self said, yes, that's correct. So acceptance is a big thing. Right? And not judging. And guys, I've had 3 sessions, bam, 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 right in a row today. And whatever the last 2 days I did sessions, including this one, where the judgment of their parents came up. It was like a big front and center thing, and the lack of acceptance, not accepting them for who they are and expecting them to have been totally different people. So I had a client the other day who her mother was amazing and wonderful. And she was so excited. Like, she's like, I had the best mom. I had the most awful dad in the whole world. He was a narcissist. He was awful. But my mom was amazing. And she was so supportive and so loving and so giving. And so now she's got children. And her mom is not a loving, supportive, giving grandmother to her children. And my client is just beside herself that her mom is not that way. Her mom finally left the abusive, cheating father. And now she's off living her own life. And she doesn't want to be tied down in a motherly, grandmotherly role with her grandkids. She's out living her best life. She actually is learning spiritual healing methods and things like that. And she just doesn't want to do that. And my client is judging her mother for not being, here, Kitty, no, don't do that, for not being the grandmother that she should be. Because mom was an amazing mom to her, she wants her mother to be an amazing grandmother to her kids. And I told her, and her higher self told her, kind of like this, who are we to put our expectations and demands on another person? It's mom's life. It's mom's journey. Mom can do whatever she wants. You might want mom to be this loving, amazing grandmother, but that's not what mom wants for her life and her journey. And who are you to judge that and demand mom do something that she doesn't want to do? Who are you to dictate how she lives out her life and does her journey? That's not something mom necessarily agreed to come here and do. She's probably done with that role. Like, dang, I was that supportive, loving mom dealing with that cheating, abusive spouse for all those years. It's my time. So it kind of gave my client a different perspective of like, wow, I'm being really judgy. And I just thought, my mother should be a better grandmother, but that's really, really judgmental of me. You guys have probably heard this saying before, don't should on me, right? So she was shoulding all over the place. And when we did her session, her higher self told her that she just puts all these demands on other people. They should do this, they should do that, just judging everybody else's journey and their role. And that's not our position to do that. We focus on us. Everything starts with us. All the healing, dropping the judgment, the anxiety, all of that is with us. It's not anything in our external environment at all. Hi, Timar. How are you? It all starts with us. It's all inside of us. And so if we can focus on healing us, that's where the peace is going to come from. It's not going to come from controlling anyone else outside of us ever, ever, ever. We don't ever make our life better by getting things outside of us to conform to the way we want them. That will never, ever happen. It has to come internally first. So there's a lot more, guys, but I've been live for an hour and 20 minutes and my voice is starting to give out on me. And my daughter messaged me, my 17-year-old daughter, and she needs a ride home from work. So I'm gonna leave you guys with a few things. The whole thing about accepting others and not judging others. And if you want to learn, like I said, how to live more as your higher self, meditation is a great way to do it. Journaling your feelings. And then here's something else that really came hitting me hard over the last week or so. Getting out a piece of paper and writing down everything in your life that you can control, CAN, that you can control. And then on the other side of that paper, write down everything that you cannot control. You can't control, let's use that example I just gave. You can't control the fact that your mom doesn't want to be an involved grandmother with your children. You can't control that, right? You can control how often you listen to spiritual teaching videos. You can control how many spiritual books you read to try to help yourself heal. You can control whether you sign up for a healing class or learn Reiki or some other kind of energy healing. You can control how hard you work. You can control how clean you keep your house. But things you can't control, right, Tamar? You cannot control other people's actions. You can't, obviously, you can't control the weather. The government can, but you can't, right? You can't control the weather. You can't control if your spouse leaves you. You can't control that, right? You can control how you treat your spouse or your partner. You can absolutely control that, but you can't control if they're going to stay or if they're going to go cheat or if they're going to leave for someone else. You can't control that. So write down the list of everything you can control and everything you can't control. Then, and that's going to make you feel empowered looking at this list of, wow, look at all these things I really can control. I really can control a lot in my life. But then look at the other side of all the things you cannot control and have that really candid conversation with yourself of, I need to let this go. All of this stuff on this side of this list, I've got to let it go, because if I don't, I'm going to create health issues for myself, anxiety, fear, anger, resentment, because I can't control how dad's treating me. I can't control the fact that dad doesn't love me the way I wish he would have. I can't control the fact that mom is not as supportive of me as she should have been. I can't control the fact that my mom's an alcoholic or my husband's an alcoholic, or I can't control all these things I can't control. So I've got to let it go. Now, it doesn't mean you stay in toxic situations. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. You don't, right? Unless you feel like you have more lessons to learn in those toxic situations. But once you're done with those lessons, get out of toxic situations, lesson learned, and move on. You have boundaries. You can have boundaries. Absolutely. You should have boundaries, right? But Yeah, Chantel on TikTok said, I can control what's inside my hula hoop. You can control the people you have in your inner circle, the people you have closest to you, that you invite to your table of life, your private dining table of life. Who do you have at that private dining table? You get to control that. Not everyone gets a seat at your table. Julia, thank you for the rose. Not everyone gets a seat at your table, right? So you get to control a lot in your life, and that creates your life, right? Oh, it's your username, Smooth1111. You're so amazing. Thank you. But focusing and learning how to let those other things go, because you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting anyone else, and you're not going to change. That's a good thing to write, right? Okay, so you have your list of things I can't control. You can change it. You can't change it. You can't control it. The only person I'm hurting by holding on to these things is myself. That's what I would write at the bottom. The only person I'm hurting by holding on to these things is myself. Because no one else is getting hurt by that. It's just you. It's all up here. It's all in your head. You're the one who wants to control these things in your head, in your mind, but you can't. So you either let it go or you let it run your life and destroy your life and possibly destroy your health, because you can't control it. So those are big things. And then, like this client's higher self said, journaling, get those feelings out. Instead of holding them and letting them get trapped inside, get them out on paper. Put them on paper. And then, like I said, go on my YouTube channel or click in my TikTok bio and look for that video on my live tab on my YouTube called The 4 Must Do's Every Day. So you can learn about cutting cords, which you should be doing every day, shielding yourself, grounding yourself, and clearing your energy, your energetic space. The 4 must do's every day. And it's just a quick 11-minute video on how do you do that. So I would check for that video out. And then again, you can do meditation. That's one of the biggest things everyone's higher self says. Meditate, even if it's 15 minutes a day, you guys. I have some great meditations that I recommend on my website. If you're looking for good meditations, it's on my on my website, wokelightworker.com, under the videos tab. And if you scroll to the bottom of that page, there's a number of different people's meditations. And then I also have one on my website called Meeting Your Higher Self. You can go do a meditation to meet your higher self. And then, of course, another thing you can do, what can you do to get clarity and healing in your life? You can do a higher self hypnosis session, like what I was just going over today. And I only got through page 8. And her session, how many pages of notes do I have? I have 14 pages of notes from her session. So she got way more healing and answers. And we did a ton more psychic surgery for some specific physical issues. So I'll have to do another live where I can actually go into that more. But then reading too, you guys, reading, let your higher self and your team speak to you while you read, while you listen to an audiobook. They're always talking to you. When you're listening to the books, when you're reading them, go to my website, wokelightworker.com, click on the tab that says shop. And then I have my list of recommended books in order of how I recommend. Looking back, having read all these books, what order would I want to read them in to help me grow incrementally? And I put them in the order that I recommend them. So go out there, and a lot of them, not all of them are audio, but you can do audio while you're driving to work, walking your dog, doing the kitchen work, whatever. And then save the ones that are paperback for, give yourself an extra 20, 30 minutes before you go to sleep at night, and just dive into it and ask your higher self to speak to you while you're reading it. Give me more insight, give me more wisdom, more clarity, help it become real for me, right? Sunday Rosberg, I'm so glad I found you today. I'm home recovering from trauma. My dog killed my other dog in the house. Oh my God. I'm so sorry for that. Whoops. Can we ask our higher self to do a healing or get answers about your pet? Oh my gosh. People ask in higher self hypnosis sessions all the time about their pets. And you get healing, you get trauma pulled, shock, trauma, all that stuff pulled from your body when you do a session. That's part of the psychic surgery that we do when I do the higher self hypnosis session. So yeah, 100%. And then you can also schedule a higher self hypnosis session. I have shorter sessions that cost less money. I have longer ones where we do a lot more in-depth trauma healing with coaching from me. But you still get a ton from these shorter sessions. So don't think you're not going to have an amazing session from my 3.5 hour session versus my 6 hour session, because you absolutely will. It's incredible the insight you get. This girl that I was reading her session today, that was one of my shorter sessions. She got incredible insight for her life and healing and psychic surgery. So you can check out all my pricing on my website, schedule a free 15-minute phone call with me to talk and make sure it's a good fit for you. And then we'll go from there, and I'll get you on my calendar. I think I might have just a couple days, 1 or 2 days maybe left on my calendar for June, but my July, I have some good dates open. I mean, guys, it's already July 11th. I'm sorry, in August, I mean. I have more dates in August, but I think I might only have 1 or 2 left for July. But anyway, schedule that consultation call with me. You can get the link on my website, or you can just email me, tracy@wokelightworker.com. Go on my website, Woke Lightworker. And then don't forget that you can also watch higher self hypnosis sessions that I've done with past clients. I have those on my YouTube channel. So just search my YouTube channel and you can find them out there. But I thank you all for being here. I'm so glad I could share this. I will email everyone. If you're not on my email list, go to my website and get on my mailing list. Click on contact me, because I will email you and let you know when I'm going to go live next, because I don't do it at the same time every week. So just go ahead and get on my mailing list and I'll email you and let you know. And I'll be able to answer all your questions, just like Carly has anyone ever not been able to be hypnotized? Once in a great while, Carly, but not very often. And I can usually vet those people out in the consultation call. So that's why we want to do a free 15-minute consultation call to see if you will be a good fit for this. Okay. So thank you all for being here with me, joining me tonight on this Thursday evening. I love you all. Don't forget to follow me on YouTube under Woke Lightworker, and on my Instagram, on my TikTok, and on Facebook. Okay. I hope you all have a great night. Thanks for joining me. Bye.